Hello, my name is Shiloh Lundahl,
And I'm Jason Moss.
and you are watching the Improved channel focused on real estate investing. Today we wanted to talk about the idea of partnerships. So Jason and I have been partners in real estate, real partners since 2017, but we worked together on deals since 2015. So when you're going to get a partner in real estate, you really want to know, okay, do I want a partner? Why do I want a partner? If you can just handle everything on your own, you may not need a partner. If you have certain areas of weakness or areas that you don't excel at, it's really great to have a partner that's good in those areas. In 2015, Jason and I did our first real deal together. I've been watching a lot of HGTV, and I thought, I can do some of these things that I'm seeing on there. Let me call my real estate buddy and see what he's doing and see if I can do something with him. So what happened?
Well, I had an opportunity where I was basically flipping a house at the time, and I was like, well, I don't really want to partner with somebody on this, but if you want to, I was kind of a lone wolf up until that point. I had done a couple of partnership deals, but I really just kind of like to keep everything. I was kind of trying to be an island, and Shiloh said, we want to do a deal with you, and I was like, well, I've got this deal. I don't do everything myself, of course, but I said, well, why don't you be the hard money lender? Because I did need cash, and I was getting money from another hard money lender. I'm like, well, if you at least match his rate or beat it, let's get you involved. And so you could see the process and see how things work. So we did that deal, and that was a fun deal. There's lots of stories with that I'm sure he'll go into later. But this specific deal, I ended up making around, I don't know.
Yeah, so Jason made about 40, and I only made about 13, but
still great for a hard money lender.
Yeah.
And we did some creative things with that. We actually renegotiated the note from the seller, made an extra $10,000. So that was a really cool deal. And you got a portion of that as well, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah. So that was because that was the money aspect, and so we did split that portion, and I took the real estate portion, and so he ended up making a little more than he expected. I made more than I expected, but as a partner, that deal worked well, and so we went on. To do, we kind of separated a little bit, and he did a few deals on his own. Then we came back together, and we found that, and this is the best way to do a partnership, in my opinion. What you do is you test it out. You do a deal. Yep. If it works, great. You don't go through this whole operation where you create an LLC and you try and think about all the things that are going to happen or could happen. That is something that can come in time. But just do a deal with somebody, and once the money,
how it goes.
Yeah. If you really want to try and create a lasting partnership, when the money starts flying around, people change a lot, and the people that don't change and that stick to what they say, those are the people that you want to deal with, because all the contracts in the world aren't going to be able to handle all the problems that could arise.
Yeah.
And we've had several big chunks along the way that could have totally destroyed everything, but we were able to work through them and look at it in a fair point of view, not in a point of view that how can I get the most money for myself. We're really trying to see, hey, how can this really work? Because it has worked great. Because if you do the first deal, if it works good, you do another one. If that one works good, you do another one. And then it's organic. It just does it itself. You don't have to worry about thinking about all these different things. It'll just, and I'm not saying you don't have contracts. You need contracts. It can all be done organically. As you grow, the relationship is often worth more than a small deal or a small portion of a small deal.
Yeah. So a partnership is kind of like a marriage. And so if you're going to, you meet somebody at a meetup and then you decide, hey, let's be partners on a deal. Well, again, you can do that. You can be a partner on a deal, but I wouldn't say, hey, let's go into business together. You see how that's different between let's be partners on a deal and let's go into business together. Anything that's going to be a long-term deal, to me, feels like a marriage, because I'm going to be tied to that person for a long time. And unless I know that person really well, I don't want to do that, because there's a lot of things that can happen in somebody's life. They can get a divorce, they can, and that's going to have a big impact on the partnership. They can get involved in drugs. It
could be nothing, it's something totally out of their control.
Exactly. Yeah, disability. There's a lot of things that can happen, and so it's important that you know this person, that you're going to be willing to step up and take in some of the slack if they start really struggling. And
that is generally what happens with a lot of partnerships. And I have had a lot of partnerships in the past, not necessarily in real estate deals, but in a lot of different ventures. And always what seems to happen is somebody eventually starts to slack off and the other one feels disenfranchised because they're putting in more work. And that's just going to be part of it. There's always going to be some of that give and take. And, you have to figure that out. Is it worth going forward or is it not? So what we did when we started is I had a part. He was sole owner of the company because he was financially liable for a lot of the stuff. And I had just a partnership agreement on each of these properties that said, hey, I'm entitled to half the profits and half the downside.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that. So we do a deal in 2015 together. Then I do 2 deals on my own. 2016, we come back and we start. And when I say I do 2 deals on my own, Jason is the realtor, and so I had him sell one of the deals that I did on my own. And it was great because I go out there and I'm trying to do this and it's not working out really well. And I improved it for the neighborhood at the time.
It was your first flip. You were excited.
Yeah, my
you
first flip.
Wife,
I was excited. We made it cute. But then what happened
happens.
is I go to Jason. I'm like, dude, I'm not making a lot of money. And so Jason was super nice about that because he's like, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll lessen my commission. And so he really took like a 1% commission on that deal, and that was really helpful for me in not losing as much money. And so I appreciated him on that. And so that just kind of helped me know a little bit more about his character. And then in 2016, we started to do more flips together. And we flipped, I think, 6 properties together in 2016. And we made some good money. We made each about $95,000 in cash. And so that was neat to go and do that. And we saw that this partnership could work out, that we were both committed. We were both committed to working hard. And that's one thing, is you want to get somebody who matches you with regard to the amount of work they're willing to put in. If you're putting in a lot more than them, it's going to feel, as Jason was talking about, that the relationship is imbalanced. So I saw his work ethic and he saw mine, and then we just started working together. So now let's talk a little bit about how you mend different personalities. In 2017, we decided that we were going to start buying and holding some of these properties, and we were going to start doing what are called lease options. And we were going to buy the properties, own the properties, and then we were going to do a lease option for them for the tenant buyer. But there were some things that we had to work out to make this work. So in our relationship, we each play kind of different roles. And so at the beginning, Jason, you want to tell just briefly your story about how you did really well early on, and then everything came crashing down, and that when it came time to do this partnership, you weren't really in a financial place to be able to do a lot.
Yeah, so back in 2005, up to that point, I was 26 at the time. I'd amassed $1 million. And so I was a millionaire. I was super excited about myself and thinking I was trying to play it cool, and I had 50% equity on all my properties. I was trying to be safe because I knew the market was going to correct, but nobody expected, what happened to happen. And in the place that I was at in Arizona, values went from, for example, a $330,000 house down to a $90,000 sale at the auction. So drastic, it just wiped me out. And so at that point, I was $250,000 in the hole that I had to, over the next couple of years, dig myself out of, hustling as a real estate agent and as an appraiser, trying to figure out how I'm going to dig myself out of this. Finally dug myself out of the hole, paid off all my creditors. I didn't have to go bankrupt or anything like that. And I had started getting back into the real estate game and started flipping some more after I licked my wounds for a couple of years. And I was doing deals, and that's when Shiloh kind of entered the picture. And I wasn't really in a position credit-wise, because my credit was destroyed, because I had, I actually only had like one foreclosure and a short sale. All the other properties I was able to sell as the market went down, but like the market's going down. I'm like, okay, sell that one before I get upside down. Sell this one, it was horrible. But I was able to sell most of my stuff, so my credit was still messed up. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to figure out how to do this without cash. And so that's what I've done up until really now. I haven't had any credit, and I've been able to still do tons of deals. And I was in a financial position to really bring, and I didn't have a whole ton of money at the time because I just paid off all my debts because I was super scared to lose everything.
So that's where Jason was. He had a ton of experience, but he had no credit and he had no money. I, on the other hand, had very low experience, but I had access to money and I had really good credit. And so that made it so that our partnership, we both brought something different to the table. It wasn't me saying, he had money and good credit and experience, and then I had none of that, and me coming and saying, here, let's, can I just kind of do a deal with you where I'm just going to ride on your coattails. It wasn't about that. We both came in in a situation where we could benefit one another. That's one of the areas that made our partnership work out really well. And so now what it looks like is I'm still the money guy, meaning that I deal with banks all the time. I'm usually on the phone with a banker every single day talking about how to get loans, why what they're looking for is not important, and they say it is. And then it's just like, it's like a fight. Every single day I'm fighting with, it's like a fight with a smile. So I'm trying to, and that smile isn't always there. I work with banks trying to get lending. It's really important to have good relationships with bankers. I mean, I built some really good relationships with bankers over the time, and not some with some other ones that I don't work with anymore. That's my choice, by the way. That was my choice to end that relationship. Yeah, it's not you, it's me. I'm choosing not to work with you. But what's important is that's one area that I bring to the table. And Jason brings his realtor experience and his experience as an appraiser. He was an appraiser for how long?
Since 2001.
So a long time as an appraiser. He's really good at determining values.
I think I figured it out. I've done over 13,000 appraisal evaluations, so I've done a lot.
That's a lot. So number needs to be verified and fact checked. Anyway, he's great at determining values. And so I might find some deals, or he might find some deals, and then I'll send it to him, or he'll look at it, and then he'll determine what the value is. And then from there, we can kind of back out and kind of estimate, okay, what's the rehab cost going to be? And then this is what we can offer. And I'll send him, deals, and then I'll say, hey, make an offer that makes sense, because I'm the gas and he's the brakes. Because he's gone through a downturn, he knows what that feels like. I've never gone through that downturn.
I've driven the car off the cliff before.
Yeah, yes, he did. Ooh, and it was a nice, expensive car, and now it's gone. It's all gone. So basically, for me, I'm good at, I'm a go-getter. I'll wake up in the morning, my thoughts are on real estate, I'll look at some properties, and I'll send them out. Whenever I get an email from a wholesaler, I can look at that email within 30 seconds, determine if there's any property on that email worth looking further at. And if there is, then I might call the wholesaler right away and say, hey, tell me more about this property. Hey, I'd like this property, send me over the contract. I send it over to Jason to make sure that he can verify what the ARV is, because, man, I've gotten into some deals where I even put earnest money down because the wholesaler sent out a deal with an ARV, and I sent it over to Jason. He's like, dude, that ARV is like $35,000 above what I can find it at. And so I backed out, and I've lost my earnest money, but in my opinion, it's better to lose $3,000 in earnest money than to leave $30,000 into a deal that's just marginally okay. And so that's why it's worked out so well, is that we have complementary skills.
Well, if we didn't have that gas brake dynamic, we would either be not going anywhere, or we would be driving off the cliff again, because we'd be going so fast without railings. And so having that dynamic but again, it goes back to complementary personalities and skill sets. And you may not find that in two people. I think we're kind of unique in that fact that we've really got a great combination, but you may need three people to get that done. But three people gets hard too. Yeah. But the second thing that I wanted to say about a partnership is communication. If you can't communicate, that's the course of marriage with any kind of partnership arrangement. The communication is so key that if you can't get that dialed in right, or if you're dreading to tell somebody something so you don't, it festers and it blows up in the end. You just want to always communicate things right as they're happening, and you can really figure out, you can get over so many hurdles by just having good communication. That solves a lot of issues.
It does. And know that there are different personalities. Jason and I are not the same person. We're different people. And again, that's great because we have a lot of complementary skill sets. But there's going to be some things that maybe are more important to me, and some things that are less important to him. And be okay with that. Because if you're not, then you're going to be frustrated a lot.
And you got to respect the other person's position too. Like, if I'm pushing on the brakes and he's pushing on the gas at the same time, you're going to blow your brakes out. Yeah, and there's some of that give and take.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate that because I may, if I didn't have any leeway of trying out some things, then it would feel like an off-balanced partnership, because I may try something that with the different resources or skill set that I have actually may work. And if it didn't work out for Jason once and he says, no, I've done that never works, then it's going to feel like, well, I think it could work. And so
and I do that. I do tell you that, but it's usually after, I've done it multiple times, and there's no doubt in my mind that there's a better way to do it. But there's definitely
and sometimes there's things that you just learn best by doing and failing.
That's the truth. I can't tell Shiloh 1,000 times how hard it is to go through that scenario where you're about to be kicked out on the street. I can explain it to him, he can logically understand it, but till you've gone through something like that and you face that, I'm going to be homeless, how am I going to feed my family, this whole scenario, you don't get it. You get it, but you don't get it. And so, but that's why I'm okay with going through some of these things, so we both get it, so I get that.
And so that's been good in the partnership as well. So we have complementary skill sets, we have complementary duties, and both of those have been really, really helpful, but we also have the same goal. And so that's the thing that's really important, is we both know what our goal is. We have a goal of each earning $20,000 of monthly passive income. And so that's the goal that we are working towards. And once we make that goal, then we're going to be able to determine, well, what do we want to do next? Do we want to do something else? Do we want to kind of create systems around that so that can just keep going, and then we can kind of part ways and have that remain going? Or do we want to make a new goal and then work towards meeting that goal? I think that's been what's been so helpful in our partnerships, is that we've been able to have all of those three things.
And go in with the knowledge that, things are going to morph and change. And you're not always going to get your way, and you're going to have to make concessions, and things are going to get messed up, and you don't blame people, you just move on.
And so I would say that's the fourth thing, is being willing to adjust over time, because with our partnership, the way that it started is very different than what it is today. And I'm glad that we were able to make those adjustments. Otherwise, it wouldn't work with having us scale to where we're at now. It wouldn't have worked if we had kept to the letter of what we decided early on. And so we had to be able to adjust, and we made that adjustment.
I mean, it would have worked up to that point, to a certain point, but it would have died. And so in order to get into this, whenever you're hiring an assistant or making a big change, when you're in growth phase, you have to be able to pivot. If you can't pivot, you're going to just stay where you're at.
Yep, I agree. So anyway, we hope that this video is helpful. If you liked this video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and like the video. We want to continue to produce great content. We're going to be doing it either individually or as a partnership, because we want you guys to be successful in real estate investing.
Oh, one more thing I wanted to say.
Okay, one more thing.
So,
that's it.
If I'm a rocket, right, and I'm just doing my thing like I was a lone wolf type of situation, I'm going all over the place. When you get a second, this is how I vision a partnership in my head. You've got two rockets coming together. You go one direction, right? So it's kind of like
an interesting analogy, because two people might think two rockets are going to explode each other. But go with his analogy. Just go with it for a minute.
And I don't even know. I need to put this into words and put it into a better analogy. But we do so much more together than we could do apart. A lot of the stuff that we do is in our part time. Yep. So we're doing this thing, and it gives it direction, it gives it focus, it gives it synergism. It gives it, if my engine's burning out, his can take up some of the slack. And so, I'll think of a better analogy. I'll get back to that. But the point is that we do a lot better, together than we can apart. And that goes with assistance and all that stuff. The bigger your team, the stronger your team, the bigger your rocket is just going to be.
Well, and I would say efficient, because you can have a big team that just drains all your resources, but to have the people on your team being able to work hard and work well together, and that's what I think that our partnership does. So anyway, have a great day. Thanks for watching the show, and we'll chat later.